Asian countries, Europe, United Kingdom, Central Asia countries, Middle Eastern countries, African countries, Latin American countries, they chose not to adopt the UEC education system. Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, and Philippines chose to maintain and to use only one national education system. That is, their own respective country national education system. In fact, in 1960s, Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia closed down many Chinese schools to avoid future unwarranted and unnecessary problems arising from multiple versions of their national histories and multiple systems outside of their official national education system. The late Sarawak Chief Minister Tan Sri Adnan Satem and Prime Minister Anwar gave recognition to UEC.
I am Adnan Satem. I am in favor of recognizing Unified Examination Certificate.
Saya nak bagi tahu, memang saya setuju bagi laluan kepada UEC ini.
Does this mean their endorsement legally binding under Article 152 of Federal Constitution? Let's refresh on what UEC is. What is UEC? Why and how UEC attracts so much uneasiness, so much concern, and so much opposition from academicians, from NGOs, and Malaysians generally? And why is the UEC system not adopted in many other countries in the world? Let's also briefly look at two examples of other countries which sadly became cruel victims arising from multiple versions of their nation's histories taught in schools. UEC is United Education Certificate. It was designed, written, and promoted by Dongzhong for Chinese schools. They chose Mandarin as the main language in the UEC system. Lessons are primarily delivered in Mandarin, while English and Bahasa Malaysia are also taught. Unlike Malaysia, most other countries push for and maintain only one national school system to unite different races. Ongoing concerns of many Malaysians regarding the UEC system became open discussions and polemics by historians, educators, and the Malaysian population. The Federal Constitution Article 152 says Malaysia's official national language is Bahasa Malaysia. So, how does one place and justify this position in the UEC education system? Sekolah Kebangsaan Malaysia System allocated 4 chapters on Malaysian history syllabus, while UEC allocated less than one page. Malaysians are still asking why the Malaysian Minister of Education chose not to offer any explanation as to why UEC is allowed to disrespect Federal Constitution Article 152 on the use and special position of Bahasa Malaysia. Is Mandarin as a primary language justified in a country like Malaysia, where the official primary position of Bahasa Malaysia has already been determined by the Malaysian Constitution, and majority of Malaysian population are Bumiputra. Let's take a look at some of the worries that Malaysians openly discussed and attracted the attention of thousands of interested others. Media concerns and opposition seem to weigh heavy on issues I highlighted from 1 to 7, which I share below. UEC's system, its goal and objectives are determined by Dongjong. The lessons under the UEC schools are designed and written by Dongjong, not by Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. Malaysian history syllabus taught in the UEC system is said to contain data deviating from version taught at sekolah kebangsaan and facts on Malaysian true historical identity and historical records are manipulated. As example, it underrated the sacrifices and loss of lives of thousands of Malays who fought to gain independence from the malignant British colony and the struggle of Bumiputras in Sarawak to free themselves from pseudo-Brooke rule. Why were the sacrifices and sufferings of Bumiputras freedom fighters diluted and downplayed? UEC's version of 13 May tragedy and the 1963 Malaysian Agreement differ and deviate from Kementerian Pendidikan's version. Why and what benefits can be gained by Malaysia as a sovereign nation to have its Malaysian history syllabus in the UEC written by Dongjong and not by Kementerian Pendidikan? What about the undeniable importance of perpaduan rakyat Malaysia? Among the many concerns of historians, academicians, NGOs, and Malaysians, the UEC education system does not seem to encourage national integrity, does not seem to encourage national unity, and does not seem to reflect Malaysian true identity before. We are witnessing now tension and uneasiness which before now were buried underground. 3R was introduced to deter and clamp down on unhappy dissenters. But what we see now, Malays feeling the necessity to revisit their nation's history long before the immigrant Chinese and others were accepted to settle on Malay lands, Tanah Melayu. Many Malaysian NGOs, historians are questioning why Chinese language is allowed to be the primary language by UEC when the Federal Constitution Article 152 clearly spelled out Bahasa Malaysia is Malaysia's only national language. Such a question by many makes significant sense when the majority of Malaysians are Malays and Bumiputras, not Chinese. To many Malaysians, allowing UEC to use Chinese as the primary language is disrespecting the Federal Constitution. There are many historical lessons that can be learned from UEC saga and mistakes. as well as lessons from other countries which chose to ignore the voices of its concerned citizens. For example, is the Bosnian War of 1992 to 1995, the bloody and ugly war recorded more than 100 of lives lost and thousands of homes destroyed and citizens displaced, more than 10,000 kids tortured and killed by Serbs. Before the war, their school taught them different and some conflicting lessons of the bad guys and the heroes. Students were taught multiple versions and perspectives of their national history. They were confused and they have had little sense of integrity, little sense of unity. Which records were true and which records were not? Bosnia's economy crumbled and 2 million families became refugees. When I visited their genocide museum and Srebrenica massive cemetery, it was horrific. It gives me the creep. In our next episode 70, we will explore the lives and history of another country where their people experienced horrendous bloody upheaval as a result of manipulated historical lessons taught in their school. Inevitably, millions of Malaysian parents now asking what will become of the future of millions of their sons and daughters who have faithfully followed the Sekolah Kebangsaan National Education System set by Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia when UEC is given the green light to deviate from National Sekolah Kebangsaan System. In episode 70, we endeavour to explore the likely implication, the probable and potential consequences of deviating from one national system. And we try to seek some answers to the question raised in episode 69.